we go into the guitar solo, which is not a happy, hopeful guitar solo. It is a slick, evil, snaky guitar solo. So let's hear a little bit because there is like a post chorus. It's not really a post. How can I describe this? It's more like a short bridge, which brings us into the guitar solo. The drums are going nuts. The guitars are playing like these super heavy rhythm chugs, like dun 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 dun, like imposing rhythmic stuff happening. And then the lead guitar is going absolutely insane. So here, let's take a listen. Okay, so that's all crazy. Let's break it down just a little bit. So pay attention to those guitars, that dun 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 dun, really really heavy. And then the drums are just going bonkers. They're just going crazy. So they're going like da 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 da, some crazy double bass rhythm that I can't even think of. So nuts stuff. Let me just talk about this and get the rhythms and drums out of the way, and then we'll talk about the solo. So the background music, so we have all of that craziness going on with the drums and rhythms there, but we actually come right back into the chorus music. So if you pay attention, it's back to that like dun 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 dun. So the basically the guitar solo is playing over the same music as the chorus. So like just for context, here you go. So yeah, same music, kind of interesting. I didn't know that until I was doing a little bit of research into this song. Uh, so yeah, but it's cool because I think it's a really great little progression that they've got, and for them to use it here, it's I mean, you can kind of like I don't know what you call it, fan fiction your way into like thematic relevance, right? Like, oh, the guitar solo isn't supposed to add something new here. It's actually continuing the themes that we were talking about in the chorus. So, like the condemnation of mankind. So, it makes sense to just keep it going. Whereas there are other songs where the guitar solo is actually like it evolves the song a little bit. It takes us into somewhere new and different. Um, you can say that, however you want to interpret it. It's kind of the interesting thing about instrumental only sections like guitar solos is that they, without lyrics, without words and lyrics, it's kind of hard to tell, or you really have to use your brain to think about like, well, what does this mean for the song? Sometimes a guitar solo is just awesome, right? Like it's just cool having it. But I think when you get into more purposeful songwriting, it's like you need to be careful about, am I just throwing this in here because it's cool or does it actually mean something to the song? Um, I think similar to the post chorus, I don't know if this is meant to be thematically relevant to the song, though I will say musically it fits all of the themes of the song, but I don't know if the solo as a section totally fits. I think you could make the argument that it does, but uh regardless, it is a very cool solo and it does fit the themes, even if its place in the song is not necessarily required. So yeah, with that said, so like I know that may seem a little contradictory, but I guess what I'm saying is that I don't know if the song needed this here, but I'm glad that it has it. It works really well and I wouldn't remove it. I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. And I say that as a guitarist who loves guitar solos, right? Like you kind of have to at some point be smart about where you're putting your guitar solos and what they mean for the song, if anything, right? So, okay. So now we can talk about the guitar solo. Which hold on, let me make sure I've got the. I'm gonna kind of skip over that. Well, no, I won't. Let's go back over into that guitar solo bridge. that is just nuts. That's about it. Yeah, it's just crazy. It's absolutely insane. So how do we want to break this down? So that first part there is definitely meant to like make it clear to us that we are getting into the guitar solo. Like we're so this isn't just like some other random part or some other section. Like this is specifically going to be the guitar solo, and this is going to be a very shreddy, intense guitar solo. And so we have this initial like here, let's break down the little section. So that right there is simply just a lead in. I can tell you, like, as someone who writes guitar solos, that is meant to show us, like, yeah, we're in the guitar solo now. Uh, but people's first thought whenever they hear, okay, the guitar solo is coming, it's like, okay, what kind of guitar solo are we getting? Which he then clarifies very quickly with this. We are getting a super crazy shreddy guitar solo. We are getting something that is absolutely nuts. So right off the bat, we have established what kind of guitar solo this is going to be. It's going to be a little evil, little because that's what those first few notes were like, right? Like they, which funnily enough, he's hitting a tritone there. Which again, remember how I said that they pick their off notes, and this song has a lot of tritone in it. That's what that note is. I'll point it out. That note right there, it goes duh duh. That duh is the tritone, and that's why it has this. I mentioned how it was maybe a little more in your face than the typical off note. It doesn't sound sly. It actually builds a lot of tension, and it's very much like it's a strong note. It's a note that like Metallica and Black Sabbath use a lot to get their darkest, heaviest riffs, and so it has this feeling of tension building, but also very strong and in your face. It's not like sly or evil or sneaky. So yeah, right there, that woo. But then we get into this crazy shred section. I'm not even going to begin to break this down. Just know that it's meant to be just insane nutso shred. Okay, so now we get into the main guitar solo, which okay, no pun intended, but this solo is wicked as hell. It is a wicked, sinister sounding solo. It is like a snake. I'm going to just read my notes for it. It is like a snake winding through various melodic segments and shred schemes. It's unpredictable but smooth, shreddy but melodic. It is unbelievably difficult to play. It is very high level. But it captures, again, I talk about like the dark orchestral element of this song. It captures both of that. It is thrashy, crazy, shreddy, but also very smooth and evil and composed. So yeah, let's go through each of the little sections, and I'll just kind of break down maybe what he's doing on the guitar end, because that is something I can do pretty well. So here. So right there, he's playing long notes. This is something Sinister Gates does a lot, where he goes back and forth between these different long notes, but leads into those longer notes with very fast notes. So like down, like that type of thing. He's really good at doing that and doing it in interesting ways. Now, the notes, if you listen to those long notes individually, they have this really like whiny, twisted sound. Um, listen real quick. Like that. You hear it's like wow. It's not a wah pedal or anything like that. What he's doing, this is a like guitar picking technique where when you hold the pick, it's called like choking up on the pick, meaning like you move your so imagine you're holding a guitar pick, right? And you pluck the string. There is there is going to be a certain amount of distance between your thumb where you're holding it and then the string where it's getting plucked, right? If you move your thumb closer to the end of the pick, so much so that it actually almost whenever you pluck a string, you actually touch the string a little bit with your thumb. Well, first off, that's how you get a pinch harmonic, but I'm not even going to talk about that. But if you do that right, you actually will create like a twang in the string, and then the longer the note goes on, the string actually loses that twang as it continues to vibrate. Because that's what happens when you pluck a guitar string, right? Is you're actually just making the string vibrate, which creates sound. So when you hit it with your thumb kind of touching it very lightly, you give it a little bit of a twang, and then over time it loses that twang. And that's what the string is doing when it goes wow, and it turns into a normal note. So listen for that again. It's very fast. And I know, like, if you're not like super guitar nerd, you might not hear it, but just listen to how that note, like, it sounds like it's going meow right here. And it kind of it evens out to a more normal note. Let's see if I can get that one more time on the right second. Hear that? It's very subtle, but it's definitely there. He does that a few more times too. He actually keeps this little rhythmic pattern where he goes like diddle 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 down, diddle 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 down. So here, listen, because he'll do it more. He doesn't do it there, but yeah. So that's how you get that really, like, I think it sounds like snaky. Like it's sly. It's yeah. It actually matches M Shadow's vocals really well. So that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, it's very cool. And so that's what he's doing in order to get that like whiny sound. Is he's touching the string very lightly with his thumb, and then as the note goes on, and he's like moving the string with his left hand, which is actually on the fret, it evens out the sound of the guitar note. So yeah, let's see. Let's keep going. So he enters this little rhythmic scheme where it's like and he continues to kind of define it and add notes. So continuing to build, and then right when he reaches like a peak or a climax as he's going up, he finds a really awesome smooth way to come back down here with slides and pull-offs and stuff. So all of that right there, super cool way to get us back down into lower notes. So that you can start to build the tension back up again. But it is a little bit slower than like some of the other stuff. It's kind of just straight, I think it's 16th notes, da 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 da. So then he reminds us like, no, this is a shred solo. So we throw in some shredding. So again, like all of this is very fluid. We're working our way up. Crazy shred. And then instead of continuing to do that same pattern, he does a little bit of a unique thing here. Check this out. So that's like a little transition because the rhythms are actually repeating there. So it brings them back around. And then he goes into a new rhythmic scheme. So he goes da 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 na 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 na. So yeah, again, continuing to build up. We're building the tension still. So like notice how all of these sections are very smoothly moving in and out of each other, even though he'll throw these very fast notes like in there. Really cool. And like again, I love Sinister Gates. He's one of my favorites of all time, and it's stuff like this where you can really hear his specific sound and style come out, because it's just all great. Yeah, and it fits this all perfectly. Like it fits the style and sound that they're going for so well. Okay, let's keep going. Let's listen to that next section in its full. Okay, so that's a really good example of he used slides to get this like really warped and then he choked up on the pick on that last note to give it that like twang again. So listen for that right here. And then, so at this point, we've had, you know, we had the first section of the solo, like that little bridge, where he did the lead in and then the shred, like just really intense shred. Then we have the solo start with a little bit more of a melodic buildup, which then ends in that very smooth come down. I think it was right here. Yeah, that right there. And then we get a little moment of shred just to remind us, yeah, this is an intense solo. And then we come back around to more melodic buildup again. But now we're sort of starting to really build into a climax, and so he knows he's running out of time, like, so he's got to get this solo stepped up a little bit. So we're gonna get this very fast, we're gonna get this really final melodic section, which is really has like slides. He's choking up on the pick. This is like a very snaky sounding part here, right here. And now it's like, okay, we have to get this solo going, so we're going to have insane shred basically. Now the climax of this solo is what are called sweeps, which like arpeggiated sweeps. But he doesn't want to just go straight into that. He wants to set up a little bit of shred first and then go into that. So yeah, you're gonna hear him do a whole lot of fast notes right now, and then you're gonna hear it almost go into a little bit more of a composed, controlled. It's still fast, but it's gonna be this up and down as he goes through the sweeps. So here, take a listen. Right, so you hear it's like we have this final melodic section. So it's very controlled shredding. So here, let's take a listen. So yeah, huge climax, super shreddy. One of the shreddiest moments on this album, honestly. You know, I think Sinister Gates was one of the people that really brought like sweep picking to the mainstream. I mean, I remember talking to people in high school and stuff about sweeping, and they were like, "Yeah, sweep like Sinister Gates." And I remember watching like instructional videos on him doing it. He certainly wasn't like the first one to do it or like a pioneer of it or anything. I mean, John Petrucci and Alexi Laiho were doing it before him, but he threw it in songs like this and Backcountry especially. That I know that for a while he was kind of synonymous with sweeping. And he kind of does a little bit of a different type of sweep picking too. He throws in like a lot of economy picking in there, so he very rarely just does straight up sweeps. And funnily enough, even in those sweeping shred sections, he's playing. I know I've mentioned it a few times, but like those off notes that I've talked about, the harmonic, you know, major seventh, and then like the tritone, those are in those sweeps as well. So even when he's doing all of these crazy fast notes, he's still modulating like the arpeggios to include these off notes to keep it in sort of musical theme with the rest of the song. So here, let's listen again. Yeah, it's just nuts. It's just nuts. So that is clearly like a musical climax. It's super intense, crazy stuff, which leads us into, so right there with that being like the big musical climax that it is. It's the perfect time for us to break into a whole new thing, right? We'll talk about that in just a second. Almost done with the solo. So finally, he ends it all with a dive bomb followed by a slow pick scrape. That's what that, you know, metallic like scraping sound is. It's him scraping his pick across the strings. So here, that right there. The last note I wanted to make on this is that so those sweeped arpeggios follow the background chords that are being played. It's very well mixed. I want to note that it's actually a little dirty and messy. Most metal guitarists, when they do stuff like this, they go out of their way to just make it sound perfect. Like every note is perfect, and it to the point where to me it honestly doesn't even sound like a guitar anymore. Like you might as well just replace it with like some type of synth, just like it just sounds like picture perfect. But this, a big thing with the mix on this whole album is that it's very dirty and raw. And so even when he does a shred section like this, it doesn't sound perfect. It doesn't sound not like a guitar. Like it still sounds very much like a guitar, which to me actually emphasizes like how cool it is, because the guitar is a cool instrument and it's meant to sound a little dirty and messy. And so when you hear somebody playing the guitar like this, where it is dirty and messy and it sounds like a guitar, but he's just like playing just unbelievably fast notes, right? Like here. Like it just has such an impact. Like there's something like raw about that I love. Um I just want to point that out. I mean, Sinister Gates is certainly not the most technical guitarist on the planet, but he's very, very, very good. But one thing that he's always been good about is understanding that the guitar is supposed to sound human. And when you mix everything to the point where it just like overproduce the sound and get the perfect exact take and comp to the point where it doesn't even sound like a human could realistically play it, it doesn't it actually loses something there, so it's cool. Like I think that's a point of appreciation that I want to throw at this part in particular. I think most people are just in awe of how like technically impressive it is, but I love the mix and the sound and the way that it is, because it is a little dirty. Like you can hear the strings uh distorting a little bit. It's hard to hear, especially if you're not like, if me as a guitarist who can play this part and can play stuff like this doesn't sound as fast to me. Like this kind of clicks in my head. Like I can pick out each individual note mentally. Most people when they hear this, it just sounds like a blur. It's crazy, right? Like it's like moving at 50, it's like driving at 80 miles per hour, looking out the window, like everything's just flying by, right? And so it's hard for you to pick it out. But if you listen very closely, you can hear how it's just a little strained and a little rough. Like try listening. I don't know if you can hear it or not. If you can, cool. But if you can't, just maybe just trust me there. Like or go listen to some other like shred bands and listen to how they do their sweeps and how they just sound perfect. Like they're flawless to a fault compared to this, right? I think that I think you'll see what I mean. Um but yeah, overall, phenomenal solo. Definitely one of the shreddiest solos he's ever done. Sinister Gates doesn't typically do just straight sweeps. In fact, this might be the only time he actually does just straight up sweeps. And even then, they're still modulated with those off notes, so it's not even like straight arpeggios. It's kind of altered arpeggios. But anyway, yeah, really cool, really great stuff. So that brings us into the clean interlude.